Hey, Homeworthy, I'm Jen.
And I'm Tom. Welcome to our home in Connecticut.
Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Jen Potter. I am the founder of Fete Home by Jen Potter. I design and produce a line of fabric and wallpaper for the home, in addition to home accessories and decor, all based on original patterns that I create.
My name is Tom Brown. I work in TV and film production, children's television, documentary film, all kinds of stuff.
And you are in our home in New Canaan, Connecticut.
Welcome.
Tom and I found this home in a very interesting way. We lived in New York City for 25 years plus, and we never intended on leaving. We have two kids who were small at the time, and we had renovated a couple of apartments. The last one was actually a doctor's office that we converted into an apartment, which was incredible. Tom is a bit of a renovation junkie.
That's true.
And we had our claws in the concrete, and we were never leaving. And then, like happens to so many people, COVID hit, life got a little bit harder in an urban center, so we decided to venture out.
So you start your search just outside the city, and then you go a little further, a little further, a little further. And it was really the schools for us. So it was schools and quality of life. So we continued to look and look and look, and we found a house in New Canaan. Actually, I usually do all of the Zillowing in the house.
True.
But this time, Jen was doing the Zillowing.
As soon as I saw it, I just said, oh, Tom, we can't do this again, because it was a really interesting house, but it hadn't been touched.
Renovation.
For 40 years, 30 years.
Yes.
Tom had other feelings about it.
Well, I think initially it was like, can we make this work?
Right.
And we said yes that we could. One of the wonderful things about this house is that it has this wonderful 400-foot driveway that's set off from the street. So you don't see the street, you don't hear the street, and you're kind of in this little oasis. So it was, we started there and then said, okay, what else can we do? So.
And you saw the house before I did.
Yes.
And we were at a spot where one had to stay home with the kids. So Tom came up and saw it and fell in love with it, the house and the idea, I think the potential of the house, really.
Yes.
And I came up and the house scared me to bits, just in terms of what was ahead of us, but I fell in love with the land. It's a few acres, so we have privacy, we have the potential for a nice garden. So I fell in love with the land. Tom fell in love with the potential of another renovation.
And I said, look what I drew on this napkin that we could make.
That's true.
So we did that.
So here we are, and we've been here for 4 years, almost, and 2 of those were spent in the house while we renovated, which I would and would not recommend for a number of reasons.
But
on
we're
both
still
sides.
together. So we made it work. So this is our sitting room. This is the new section that we built onto the house. Everything basically from here over is new. This is where the house had ended. One of the things that was key for us in here was to be able to add this room. Downstairs is where the foyer is, and then our bedroom is there along with the guest rooms downstairs. The key to this room for me was the light. Because when we looked at this, we wanted to make sure that we were able to capture everything that was going on outside, that you could see out there, see what was going on out there, but then be able to, in the winter, see it and enjoy it as well. So the light and the glass was key.
And in terms of filling the space, you know, it was this was kind of a funky area, because in a way, the full space is so big. This felt a little bit like a pass-through when there was nothing in it. So we started collecting things. The furniture, the chairs and the sofa, believe it or not, are all RH, and I found them from an outlet, but I don't do beige. So I found some really pretty hand-blocked fabrics to put down the middle of the chairs. I always say that Kit Kemp is my hero in design. I love the way she designs, and I love pops of color and interesting stripes. So she was sort of my inspiration for the house. When we thought about this bookshelf, the space above it was challenged. We weren't sure what we were going to do, and we wanted to mimic some transoms that hopefully you'll see throughout the rest of the house. So I found this piece at Antiques and Artisans in Stamford, and it's a vintage transom, and I just thought it was so beautiful and such amazing lines, and it's about the same size as the other glass transoms that are part of this house. And it just makes for this wonderful addition and kind of draws your eye up, and it makes you feel like you're really part of the space.
I would also say in this area, one of the key items is this poster that's on the wall.
Yes.
And a very, very, very dear friend gave us this poster, which says Mr. Blandings builds his dream house. And it's all about a family that moves out of the city to Connecticut, and they build their home, and it's just nothing but problems. So we have this that kind of graces the entrance. The crazy part about all of this is that not only did he give us this poster, but then we went and we looked at who directed the movie, and the person that directed the movie is H.C. Potter, who is Jen's great uncle.
My great uncle, yeah. He was, it's funny, I didn't know much about him, and I have a very proud legacy in my father's side of the family. There were a lot of Episcopal bishops, and it was very pious. And H.C. Potter, my great uncle, apparently was a bit of a black sheep of the family, and he went off and became this fabulous Hollywood director, which I really had no idea about. So our dear friend gave us this poster, and we looked at the bottom, and sure enough,
Yep.
HC directed it. So it's really become this very special piece. Now, hanging it was
not
very
easy.
Special.
No. Hanging it was a whole other thing. I had to borrow a ladder from our friends that was about 14 feet high, and I built a platform to set it on, and then Jen had to hold one side and I held the other side, and we probably should have just hired somebody, but it's straight and it's on the wall, so that's good.
I will say my mom is an incredible ceramicist, so you'll see throughout the house various pieces of hers. So these are all porcelain botanicals that she creates entirely with her own two hands, and has an incredible eye. And it took me 30 years to finally get a piece of hers. I begged and begged and begged, and then she gave me one, and then she gave me another.
And then she gave these to the kids.
Right.
And then we were like, you're not touching them, they're going on the shelf. So anyway, so all of these pieces she did, so which is pretty amazing. Living in the space, I think, was key because, as Jen said, you could figure out how everything in the house worked. You could figure out how the outside property worked. You could see it through a full season's change, which I think is really, really important, especially when you're considering landscaping and you're considering where light is coming in.
Light is coming in,
So
yeah.
you wanna have that. And then it also gives you time to think about it. If you jump right in to the house and say, okay, we're gonna renovate this, this, and this without living in it gives you the opportunity to say, you know what, maybe we make that room just a little bit bigger, or maybe we face it this way, or maybe we put the door on this side as opposed to this side. And how will these people get from here to there? So that gives you that opportunity. At one point we were outside and I had stakes in the ground to say, look, this is where this is going to be. And Jen's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But this is how it's going to work. So it gives you that time to figure it out.
And Tom and I have this interesting partnership with the homes that we've created together. We renovated 2 apartments in New York, and then we've done this house together. I would say, a bit spatially challenged. I don't do well trying to figure out planes, and I totally admit that. So when he sees a blank space, he can configure the architecture and see the flow of a room, flow of a house. So he's amazing at that. And we joke that our architect gets frustrated with us because, he takes a lot of the creativity out of Tom takes a lot of creativity out of the project because he's so good at it. Just off the sitting room is, I suppose, what you'd call a great room, and it combines our dining room, living room, and kitchen. So come on in the dining room.
It was Jen's idea to have these Talavera plates that on the wall, And what's very special about each one of these plates is that we kind of give them to each other as gifts, and each one has a message on the plate. So I just had a birthday recently, so
You have a few to hang.
I have a few to hang. This was from my kids. Happy birthday, Dad! You're the best dad ever. We love you. So that's that one I got, which is great, and it has the date on it. And then I think there's another one in here. What's this one? This one is, oh yes, Happy Mother's Day. That's Jen. Happy Mother's Day for Jen. There's another one for my birthday. So each one of these has a little message. So, we'll get these from time to time and give these. Usually, sometimes Jen and I are usually on the same, whether it's Etsy or eBay, probably bidding on the same one that we don't even know that we're going against each other to beat it out. But anyway, so our whole plan is to kind of have these kind of wash over the piece. And like we had said before, I mean, it's never ever really done. It's always just in a state of being more.
Yeah,
So.
and I just fell in love with this Talavera style Spanish blue and white. Obviously you see blue and white plate walls and you see a lot of English china or Delft pieces, but this felt a bit more whimsical, and we feel our house is very whimsical, so this felt like the right move. We laughed about how we were gonna start because it was gonna take some time. So we said, let's just start with one side and have it go over. And again, it's kind of the thing of not worrying that it's not finished and just kind of enjoying the ride of it. So you're gonna have to break out that ladder again to get those up there.
And the key too is that if you're gonna buy a plate, you kind of have to take a mental inventory of what you have because everyone is different. So we try not to have two of the same plates.
So just going from what we were saying about the sitting room and the vintage transom that we had found, it was again to kind of mimic what's happening naturally here through the architecture, and it was again sort of exactly the same size. It's July right now, so everything is very lush all around us, and it's incredible because we sit at this table for meals and you just feel like you're in a treehouse. Our main living space is actually partially on the second level of our house, so again, you feel kind of lifted up. I mentioned that home for me is really sitting at the table with my family, and so we do try to be intentional about the table, not in a fancy way, but just to say, listen, we're together, let's make this meaningful. So my kids are cute, they get involved in setting the table, and despite the fact that I have my own line of table linens, I still have a hard time remembering which fork, or if the fork goes on the right or the left. So if this is set wrong, that's not surprising. The table runner is part of my collection. This is one of my designs. Comes in fabric, wallpaper, and table linens and pillows. And the pieces on the table, Tom found these at Auction Ninja, which are antique Delft vases, which I adore. And yeah, and all of the pieces are just sort of collections. The wine glasses are vintage coupe glasses that someone gave us as a wedding present. The flatware was given to me by my mom. It's part of our family collection. And yeah, this is a very special place for us. So Tom and I met, we've been together for 15 years. We met in a completely backwards way. We were both married to different people before. The tendency, I think, is to say, unfortunately got divorced, but in our case, fortunately got divorced. And, I was working in New York, Tom was working in New York, and we had a couple who were mutual friends contact both of us and say, hey, we have someone we want you to meet. And I had been through a slew of blind dates and, I don't remember what they were called back then. It was like eHarmony and all of those nightmare things. And they were all disasters, funny stories, but disasters. And I was kind of just done. I said, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to meet anyone else. This woman, also called Jen, said, come down to the South Street Seaport Sunday night, 7 o'clock. And I was like, you are out of your mind. That is the last place I'm going. I had an engagement party the night before, wasn't feeling so hot that Sunday morning. And anyway, a good friend convinced me to go. And so we met at a bar with our friends, and we met at 7. I think we talked until 1 in the morning. Mm-hmm. We never talked about what we did professionally, not once. It was all just exchanging stories.
Correct.
which I found fascinating because if you've ever lived in New York, you know that the first thing someone asks you is, what do you do? And I find it a really boring question. It's much more interesting to talk about the world and stories from your past.
Here's one thing that I have to say is that, so the bar that I would frequent there, which was called Bin 220, which unfortunately is not there anymore, I was there so frequent that they named a drink after me on the wall, on the chalkboard. So I was on there, it was the Tom Brown, which is basically a rum and Coke. So I thought, well, you know what, if anything, maybe I could impress her because there's a drink named after me. So I think that worked. Did that work? That had nothing to do with it. You drank something else.
No, it didn't have anything to do with it. But when the night was over, I got into a taxi with my friends and we were going back uptown. And Tom kissed me on both cheeks and said, "I will see you again." And that did it for me. I was born in London, and the double kiss was it was sort of everything. I don't know if you knew what you were doing, but
Classy.
it worked. And so we got together, and again, we had past lives already. Marriage was sort of less important to us. We both wanted children, so we had our son, and then we had our daughter, and then we decided to go on a honeymoon. And then we got married. So my, at the time, 2.5-year-old son walked me down the aisle, and we were 15 people barefoot on a beach in Manahawkin, New Jersey. It was exactly what we both wanted.
And everyone got to have Tom Brown drinks.
And so just off our dining room is our formal living room. These are, again, sofas that we found at auction that were, I mean, unrecognizable. They're beautiful, such well-made Ralph Lauren sofas that were just ripped to shreds. So I found this beautiful performance velvet from Cravat, and then basically built the sofas around these embroidered panels that I found at Schumacher that I just fell so in love with. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to just have a panel up and down the middle of the sofa? So we had them rebuilt and recovered, and so this was kind of the space that we sit in for Christmas and parties and all good times.
What's great about having an open space is that, and we had a party here recently, a couple, and people can be in different spaces, but yet you're all kind of in the same space. So it's a really warm feeling when you've got everybody here, but everyone's kind of having conversations with each other, and there's different spaces for them to go. So.
And we weren't quite sure, again, this rug is quite big because the room is quite big. I wasn't sure if I should have 2 rugs given the fact that we were trying to make this a dining room, but I love the way it's all connected. And Tom said, we just had a party here. Someone knocked a tray of marinara sauce off of a server's tray, and it went all over the rug. And I only mentioned this because I went back to the guy who helped me make the rug, and I said, what do I do? And obviously you could wrap it up and send it somewhere for a whole lot of money. Hydrogen peroxide, if you dab hydrogen peroxide on a carpet or anything, it will take the stain out. And I am shocked, but there is not a single drop of it left. So sharing is caring. Just wanted to share that tip.
Or you could also avoid the marinara sauce.
Yeah, that was a poor choice in hors d'oeuvres. And then over here, these chairs are covered in one of my new patterns. That is a watercolor that I did. And I will formally introduce you to our dog, Chili Palmer, who's having a little snooze right now. She is an English bulldog who we gave our kids for Christmas as a surprise Christmas present.
She only sleeps 23 hours a day, so this is, par for the course. Our roles in the party, I mean, really we try to make it so that we can at least spend time with our friends, but I think mainly I try to make sure that we have the alcohol that everybody likes. Everybody has a certain thing that they like, and you have your friends that have certain things, and this one likes this gin or this one likes this. So we try to make sure that we have that, and so that's my role. The bar is my role.
Yeah, and music and HVAC. And we tend not to go on the fancy side of life. So I love to cook, so I try and do all the food myself. And then we have some help with serving and cleaning up. But Yeah, it's mellow. We just love having people around us. So it's I think the best parties you can go to is when the host is relaxed. So we try and stay calm, and if things spill or, if too many people come or not enough people come, you can't get hyper about it.
In the kitchen here, initially the house, this was a wall. So this whole thing was a wall, and this room and this room were not connected. So when we did the renovation, we said can't do that. We've got to have them be one space. So we took out this wall, and oddly enough, somehow within this wall, there was a doorway that was here that kind of went out. And I guess at one point, this was some sort of patio because we found some weird slate stone on the ground. Anyway, so when we took this out, it just kind of changed the whole dynamic of this. And then we also raised the ceiling. It was a flat ceiling. So we wanted it to go straight across, that it was all the way open. One of the interesting things about this is that, so we added a pot filler to the kitchen. When we lived in the city, we were not allowed to have a pot filler because in the different co-ops, they wouldn't allow you to do it because there's no drain for a pot filler. It's just water, and they're afraid that people will, not know how to turn it off, I guess. So that was something that we got, which was very, very cool, that Jen uses from time to time. And that's it. It's just a big open space.
The color of the kitchen, I've always had a white kitchen, and I just wanted to try something new. I wasn't trying to be on trend or anything like that. So it is a blue, it's Hail Navy from Benjamin Moore. And the countertop is engineered as much as I would love to be a person who can live with a real marble countertop. It's just unrealistic for us having young kids. So I found this, and it has a beautiful blue vein in it, which kind of ties things together. And this stone has seen red wine, it has seen Sharpie, it has seen paint, it has seen hot glue gun, and it's honestly a miracle. So I think it was a good choice.
One thing I can tell you is in the kitchen here, this initially was going to be the bar, this area here, and we found that, and it was going to open on the other side, and we found that it was too narrow, and you couldn't get a bar fridge in there because of how narrow the wall was, which is why we moved the bar to another place, which we'll show you. But we gained this space back, and it was like, okay, what are we going to do with this space? So I know there's a lot of technology that's out there in the world, and I am not really a wireless person because no matter what, the wireless, this doesn't work, or somebody walked too far away, or this didn't work, whatever. So this old school thing is the hub, okay, of how the music runs. So, and as a crazy person, I had them put in hardwired speaker wire so that there's speakers here, there's two here, two outside, and two outside. And they're all controlled from here, from this thing. So you can turn up, oh, you're going outside, you're doing this, you're doing that, great. And it all controls from here. So if somebody walks away with their iPhone, like, you still have music. And we have one dedicated iPad that sometimes the kids take to go play Minecraft or something, and then they can't take it. But this is dedicated, and this is here, and it's hardwired, and the music plays.
It's gonna be okay, Tom.
I know, it's fine.
For me, it's very hard to pinpoint a favorite room or space in this house. If I had to, I would say two. I fell in love with the land of this house, the land that the house is on. So I love being outside. We have a really pretty courtyard that we built, and I take our dog Chili for a walk in the morning, and that fills my cup. I love the environment and the sort of sanctuary that you feel when you're outside the house. And now I think I'm gonna steal Tom's answer, but I do like sitting in Tom's office. We have this funny thing where in one of our apartments, we had a pair of chairs that we called our interview chairs. And one night we sat down and we started having a conversation, and it felt like I was on the Tonight Show. I mean, Tom was interviewing me and I didn't quite know what was going on. He's a character and does a lot of impressions and things. And I just thought this was a bit, but it turned out that every night we would sit and we would talk about our days, but in funny ways, as if we were on a talk show. And so we often do that at the end of the day, just decompress, catch up. So we sit in his office in two leather-bound chairs that he found on Auction Ninja, and we chat, we catch up.
And I'll interview her like Johnny Carson, and I'll say, so Jen, how was your day today?
This is what I live with all the time.
My favorite room in the house is my office. I love where it is because I can see, there's 3 windows, so I can see down towards the river, I can see the courtyard, and I can also see the driveway. So I like to see, who's coming and going and like what's going on. It feel like you're in like a little watchtower, so which is very, very cool. But also I've got it surrounded with a bunch of all of my favorite things. So on the shelves and on the walls, and Jen did an amazing job choosing a color to decorate it, and which I would not have picked or even known what to do, and she did, and it feels very, very cozy in there. So whether you're in the middle of the summer or in the winter, you can look out, you can see green, you can see snow, and you feel cozy. So it's a great room.
Off the living room, we come into our bar. Do you want to talk about this?
Yes. So I have had this poster forever. It's an original Good, the Bad, the Ugly French movie poster that I had restored, and I collect some movie posters, and this is one of them. So I had this. So this was the last semblance of my bachelor life. I had this poster, and so we said we were going to incorporate it somewhere, and it was going to be in the bar. And Jen was tasked with trying to design a room around this poster. So so that was the challenge. So Jen, did you accept?
Well, did I succeed is the question. So I just, again, I picked a color I never would naturally lean towards, but tried to pick up some hues in the poster. And the wallpaper is an incredible grass cloth that has a lot of different oranges and browns in it. And then we just did high gloss paint on all the trim and the door and the ceiling as well. Tom has a very Art Deco love of Art Deco.
True.
Everything. So the light fixture kind of feels that way.
But who would ever say, I'm going to design a room, a color around a room of Eli Wallach's face, right? Or of Clint Eastwood's face? Like, no one would ever think that. But you did. One of the people that I most admire is Robert Evans, the film producer. And I love the movies that he was involved with, from Chinatown, Love Story, Godfather. So there was an auction after he passed away of a variety of things from his amazing house in Beverly Hills. And this was one of the items. And this was Graydon Carter and Robert Evans were friends, and he had drawn him and wrote these different things on a tablecloth from Del Silvano's
in New York.
Which is no longer there, unfortunately. But when this item came up, it was like, oh my God, this is great. So I happened to get that. There was a lot of other things there too that I couldn't get, quite pricey. But anyway, it's cool. This was hanging in his house, so it's quite fitting that it's here by the bar. Yeah. So let's go into the office. So this is my office. As I said, I love movies, but but movie posters to me are just amazing. So in this room, I've got a couple of different movie posters. I have Chinatown, which is a fantastic movie, and I also have Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was a movie that I saw as a 10-year-old kid in 1981, and it just consumed you and brought you in, and it's incredible. I get the same feeling when I watch it today as I did when I was 10. So it's the magic to be able to do that is what it's all about. This room, as I had mentioned, I've got windows on 3 sides. So the big window here, you could look down and you could see the river. I could look out here and see the driveway, see who's coming and going. So it's good. So it's a really, really cozy room, and Jen extended the color that was from the bar into this room. I used to work in the South Street Seaport in New York City in children's television. So this is a great artist. Her name is Naima Rauman, who all she did was paint stills of the South Street Seaport and the Fulton Fish Market, which was amazing that she had done. So this is right near where I had worked, right across the street. And this is very, very cool. This, when I worked in children's television, with storyboard and animation and designers, what have you. So one year for Christmas, they had all signed this picture for me, and each one did their own little design. And all of them have all gone on to go do amazing children's shows and work in the industry and make an impact. So I feel really privileged that I have all of these little doodles that they did in one spot from all of these amazing artists. So, so that's very special. So outside of the sitting room is our bedroom. So
Come on in. This is the foyer to our bedroom. I chose this wallpaper. It's Nisha Crossland, who I'm obsessed with. I have this paper and one downstairs. This is called Queen Fruit from Schumacher, and it's just, it's funny, I've never been a green person, and we moved into this house and it just felt green, and I love waking up seeing this color. It's really special. And this is a piece by Charles Masson, which is just a lovely line drawing, also a very talented artist.
this, what's interesting, so when Jen, so to go back to our relationship about I do the floor plan and then she does the interior design, and I usually don't get involved. So she said, okay, what do you think about this for the wallpaper? And I'm like, I don't know what to say because I don't want to, but it's like, but you know what? I think you have to take a chance, and you do, and I'm so glad that you did, because it just feels a little bit different than the rest of the house, but yet kind of just, it just surrounds you. So
we also have the luxury of waking up with green all around us outside. So somehow when you wake up in this room, it's just, you're inside obviously, but you just feel like you're part of nature, which is wonderful. This painting my mom gave to me. She always loved it. It's obviously a wave on a beach. Tom and I are huge beach people. I think some people think it might be a little bit foreboding, but we've always found it incredibly calming. So that's a very special piece that we have.
So the other strange thing with this room is that when we initially designed it, the bed was supposed to be here against this wall.
Weird.
So it's supposed to be this way. It's supposed to face this way. So we put the bed there. And I don't know what it is, but just we never knew kind of where you slept in the bed, what meaning that had. And I know everybody has sides of the bed that they sleep on. For the longest time, we didn't, and then we kind of did. And so when we put the bed there, Jen sleeps on the left. Usually she's closest to the door. She was not. I was closest to the door, which really doesn't work, because if burglars come in the house, I'm not going to really do anything. You need her to go in there and, you know, defend us. So we were here, and for 2 weeks we just couldn't sleep right. And we were like, wait a minute, something's wrong. This doesn't work. We moved the bed against this wall, went right to sleep, and now she could protect us because she's by the door. So there you go.
Going with the feeling of being in nature in this room, I really wanted to have some natural elements. So we have a lot of wicker and bamboo. And then, as luck would have it, Kit Kemp designed a line of bedding and curtains for Annie Selke. And so I saw these, and it was just, I just loved the texture of them. I loved the light blue. It kind of balanced out the green. And so we did the curtains and the bedspread to match. And then just to off-play the kind of natural elements, we found these metal lamps, which I think are so wonderful and unique. And so it's the metal and the rattan on the lampshade that kind of joins them all together. So I think it's a nice balance of metallics and naturals in here, and it's just a soothing environment to go to sleep and wake up in.
And initially in this room with the vaulted ceiling, that at the top it just kind of ended, and you'd be laying in bed and you're looking at it, you're like, it doesn't look finished, something's wrong, doesn't look finished. We couldn't figure out what it was, and then we were saying, well, if we were to have one of the wood beams in here like we have in the other in the main living space, that would really just kind of tie it up, and then you wouldn't be laying awake at night staring at this going, what's missing? So we got this wood beam, and it kind of just figured, and I sleep much better now.
Coming out of the bar and the kitchen, we come into a breezeway that actually this set of doors used to be the front door of the house, and on the opposite side was a wall. The house was built in a way that there are two beautiful outside seating areas, but this wall blocked this very natural passage. So Tom's idea was to obviously keep this as a door, but allow sort of a flow to go out to the courtyard on the other side. So when we bought the house, the floor in here was this really strange color, hard Mexican tile. Wasn't so great looking, so we pulled that up. But we wanted to have kind of a light outdoor feeling, so we put this antique brick and sort of whitewashed it a little bit as the flooring, which I feel like kind of brings the light up and makes you feel, it's sort of a natural transition that takes you outside. Coming through this breezeway, we didn't want to have one piece of art. So again, this is an unfinished wall, which I love. And we've started creating a collection of artwork, some of which are friends, some of which are from our kids, some of which are very talented artists. And it's a lovely feeling. I love a gallery wall. So this just felt like the right place for it.
One of the biggest challenges with this house was, where is the front door, right?
Absolutely.
So the front door, when you came in down the driveway, you kind of walked around the house and then up some stairs, and then there was a front door. So we would come home and there would be a package by that door, a package by the garage door, a package by the back door. Nobody really knew where the front door was. So one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to create the center of the house as to where you actually come in, kind of helpful. So we did that. So we added 2,000 square feet to the house, which kind of basically finished it so that there was kind of a symmetry from the outside. You come in through the front door. There are guest rooms downstairs, and then you come upstairs, and that's where all of the living spaces are.
Where we are now.
It's kind of an upside down house.
But the style of the house is, when we were first looking at it, it was sold as a Spanish Mission style house. It had a very rusty colored roof and rusty colored shutters on the outside. So it was a bit confusing, but the architecture, which you'll see, is beautiful. It's actually a Cape Dutch style house. And so it has that Amsterdam roof, which was on four sides of the house. And in order to create the addition that Tom talked about, we had to do 2 more roof lines. So we continued it. And it's a very special, quirky, interesting architecture style, but we loved it. So we wanted to continue and preserve that history when we made our renovations.
This is the foyer. When you come in, this is the new section that we built. And when you come in, the foyer is here, and then there are 2 guest rooms for folks that have their own bathrooms and that have French doors that go out. So it's kind of the hub of things. We have a special friend here. It's a carousel zebra, and he has a name. Jen named him. So.
Well, Tom found him,
Yes.
and he said, "We would never want to have a carousel zebra, would we?" And I was like, "Of course we would, but I have to be able to name him." So I named him Hank Azaria because the way this zebra makes me feel is the way Hank Azaria makes me feel whenever I see one of his films, which is just joyful and laughy and wonderful, and everything's great. So this is Hank Azaria, and he's the first one you'll see when you come into our home. We have 2 guest rooms. This one I chose in blue tones. Again, this is Nisha Crossland, who I just adore. These wonderful leaves, and then shot the room up with a little pop of color on the headboard. Both of our guest rooms have French doors out into a courtyard, so I think it allows guests to feel sort of independent. You don't have to feel like you are a guest, which is sometimes cumbersome, and it's very freeing to be able to come and go. And so next to the first guest bedroom is a second one, which we always joke, if our moms come to stay.
Yeah.
They can't be roommates, but they're sharing a wall, so
No.
it's fine. They get along. So this one is a little bit more masculine. Basically copied our bedroom that we left in New York, which I loved so much. And this was the tone. It's sort of this plummy chocolate brown in a high gloss paint. And the window treatment is one of my patterns called Trouvaille in a chocolate brown. This is a pattern that is an homage to hand block printing. So you can see there are various iterations that, replicate blobs of paint, which happen when people are hand blocking linens. And the pillows on the bed are also a pattern of mine in sort of a brown and navy blue. And again, this room has doors that go outside, so you very much feel like you're sort of free to come and go as you please.
And in the summer too, we've got hydrangeas that are outside and they're in bloom right now, which is amazing. So we just want the guests to feel like that they're at some wonderful, fancy special place that makes them feel good and there's beautiful flowers and that they'll come back and visit again.
When the bulk of the renovation completed, like I said, we lived through the construction, and we came from an apartment in the city, which was, gosh, how big was it? I don't remember.
1,500 square feet?
If that.
Yeah.
So to us, that was 1,500 square feet was enormous in New York. And we had 1,500 square feet worth of furniture, which when we were doing renovations, Tom and I and our 2 kids shared 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom for close to 16 months.
16
that
months,
was fascinating. Yes. But we lived with our furniture from the city, which was fine. And so once the renovations were complete, I had to fill a house. And I'd never done that before. I am not an interior designer. I have worked for one, and I've been around interior design most of my life. My mom is very talented in that sense. But it was challenging for me because it's a huge space, and this is not, this is not something I'm used to. So we started with the things that we love. We spread out our pieces from the city and figured out what else we needed. But I would say the most fun that I've had, and that Tom's had too, is really collecting strange, interesting, quirky, lovable objects. I have a good friend who runs an antique center in Stamford called Antiques and Artisans, and she collects things from all over the world, and she has the most amazing eye, so we found a lot of things from her place. Tom is an auction ninja junkie, so the 2 sofas in our living room were actually really old Ralph Lauren sofas that were completely falling apart. They were ripped up from, I think, lots of years with dogs. We found those at auction, pulled them apart, got some great fabrics, recovered them. So I think it's a fun process of just taking your time and finding things that you love. This house is absolutely not done, and I no longer find that daunting. I now feel like it's this amazing gift because all along our journeys, we look for very special things. And I wouldn't say we're avid shoppers, but we love finding things that we love.
Also, I think it's okay to live with a space without furniture in it until you find what you want. I think sometimes people rush in and say, oh, let's get this and this and just have it be finished. It's never ever really finished. So if you have to wait for a particular room until you find the thing that you want, it's worth it, because then once you find that, then it's there and you don't have to think about it, as opposed to getting something, oh, it's not quite right. Well, let's see if we could shoehorn this into another room or here or there. And you just kind of wait. And it's okay to just wait. Again, it goes back to, the year of living with the house before it was renovated. In a way, you should live with it then after, with those spaces empty, until you figure out exactly what it is that you want.
And I think you avoid mistakes by just taking a minute and not just filling a space. The space we're in, I started with the rug. I worked for Bunny Williams for 10 years. I ran her furniture line for her. And I learned so many lessons from her. She's the most amazing teacher. But I do remember learning that, starting with a rug is really important because it kind of grounds the space and you figure out the palette. So I saw a rug that I loved that I couldn't afford. And so I found this amazing rug maker called Sonny Cohen. He runs a company called Gordian Rugs. And I worked with him on the color palette, and we changed the scale, and the space that we're in is really big, so the rug needed to be really big. So he helped me with my vision for the design of the rug, and that's where this room really started, and then we built up from there. But it was it was a bit empty for some time, and we still have one or two rooms that aren't complete. And I think that's kind of fun because, you know, again, we have no intention of leaving this house anytime soon. So along our journeys, we can look for things to fill up those spaces.
And it also allows me to continue to go on to Auction Ninja and find stuff. Because if you have everything, then it won't be able to find anything new.
That's true. Okay, so come with me and we are going to go down to see my studio. Hi, so welcome to my studio. So this is Fete Home, and where everything I create begins. Like I said, I design wallpaper and textiles and home decor. Everything is original patterns that I either take from historical textiles or paint or draw myself, and then I apply them to fabric and wallpaper. I found Fete Home just before COVID, actually, and I had worked for Bunny Williams for 10 years, very proudly, in a business capacity. Did finance and ops for her, and so that was my role. But I've always had a bit of a split brain. I've always had a creative side, but it was always in my spare time, and it felt like the right time to kind of explore that as my own thing with my own name on the door. So I found the business, and then unfortunately COVID happened, and I had to kind of shift into survival mode, as so many people did. So my line became much more of a curated tabletop collection. I never really wanted to own a store, and so I ended up in this position that wasn't really my intention from the beginning. So about 2 years ago, I went back to my original desire to start the business, which was really my love and passion for color and texture and pattern and how I live with all of those things. And so I went back to the roots of the business, which was pattern. And I decided that what I really wanted to do was translate these patterns onto fabric and wallpaper and some small home accessories. So here's where we are. When I started the collection, it was really based on some historical textiles that I had collected. I love finding, this is a piece from Turkey, I love finding interesting patterns, interesting textures. So what I'll do is, or what I did for the original collection is I digitized historical textiles, and then I played with the scale and the color and made it my own. So that was the original collection, and that's how the business started. And what's exciting is that I have started to paint and draw again. So my collection that I came out with this spring are all original works of art. So this is a drawing that I did, which I call Luna, after my daughter. And this comes in linens, it comes in standard matte wallpaper, a really pretty grass cloth paper. Everything is printed here in the US, which is lovely. This is a watercolor that I did, and I named this one after my son, who's called Spindle. So it's horizontal stripe. I think our tendency is to do stripes vertically, but I just love the idea of kind of variations and really that sort of watery feel in like a true watercolor. So I did it in a green, in a very pretty turquoise with mellow yellow in it. I love the combination of red and purple. So I did that iteration. There's a very deep plum, which has never been my color, but right now all I want is purple. It's so interesting. And then most recently, I did it in an iteration of a rainbow, but I don't know, I see this in some cool Montauk beachy situation. I think that would be really fun. So again, these all come in wallpaper and fabric, and then I can do made up goods, so pillows and table linens, etc. But I find inspiration from everywhere. I look at a lot of books. I look and collect a lot of historical textiles. I look at my daughter's sketchbook and get inspired. It's a little bit of a curse and a blessing, but everywhere I look, I see a pattern, and there aren't enough hours in the day to recreate all the patterns that I see. But I feel very fortunate that I'm able to produce these things because I think visually it's so satisfying. And I take such pleasure in seeing things that originate from my hand or in my head, and then seeing them live and in person it's so satisfying. I try and surround myself, I'm a little bit thin right now, but I try and surround myself with things that are inspiration for new collections. This is a pattern that I drew that is coming out this fall in a variety of colors, but again, it's antique textiles, it's patterns that I've found in books, it's magazines, it's postcards, and then, it translates into all my original art. So this is the original drawing that inspired my Luna pattern. I have a kooky collection of quotes, which is really random. And again, if all these people were at a dinner party, it would be super fun. But anyway, I like an environment that keeps me stimulated, and I like to have it always change. The color, I painted the walls. I wanted this to feel like a really warm, enclosed space. So kind of the deep blue sea. So yeah, this is my happy place. So it is July, so we'd love to take you outside because everything is in bloom and wonderfully lush. But before we do, I'll just mention this piece, which is a photograph that was taken by a dear friend of ours called Carter Berg. He's a fabulous photographer. It is a Courtyard in Paris. It's actually Ralph's. And so he gave this to us as a gift. It's an original print. So we thought it was sort of an appropriate entree into our courtyard, which we'll take you out to now.
This courtyard, the center of the house, a lot of the historical Cape Dutch houses have kind of a center courtyard. So we wanted to recreate that given the architecture and style. So this is basically another living room for us. So we've got a sitting area here, there's a dining area, and it's just great to be outside. We have a couple of apple trees that are out here that Jen had planted. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
About their names?
Yes.
So we have 4 apple trees that are espaliered that grow like this. They're trained that way. Unfortunately, the squirrels seem to be stealing all of our apples, but they are in bloom. It's really funny, when we learned that our offer was accepted on this house, we were with good friends and we were listening to music, and we happened to be listening to the song Southern Cross. So that's informally what we call our house. And so when we got these apple trees, they were really babies, and I am learning to be a gardener. I am 25 years in an apartment, so haven't had a ton of experience, but I learned from my mom and from reading and lots of sources. Anyway, when we got these apple trees, they felt like people to me, so I thought they needed to be named. So we have Crosby, we have Stills, and we have Nash. And then we got the 4th one, and I'm just a huge Jimmy Buffett fan, so that's Jimmy. So those are our 4 babies out here.
With this house, the piece of this house that we added is this section here that you see with the doors and the large windows that come up the steps. That was not here before, so that's what was added. It was really kind of interesting to figure this out because when you look at the property, it's expansive, and we have these beautiful trees that give us all of this amazing shade, and we tried very much so to only have to remove the trees that we needed to remove because they've been here for so long. They provide the shade, and they're just great. They're just great to look at. So we wanted to do that. So we were very mindful of that this entire time. But this is, when you engage in these things, like coming from the city especially, they don't, where we put the addition is exactly where the well for the house was. So guess what that meant? We had to do a new well. So we ended up having to, they came out here and, there's terrible pictures of these guys drilling down and they put a new well out here and they couldn't find water within the first couple of 100 feet. So the well actually goes down 400 feet, which is basically a 40-story building that it goes down underneath the property. So all of those things an expense that you'll never see because it's underground. So yeah, that's part of it as well. This is outside of where the guest courtyard is. Both of these are the guest rooms that lead out to this courtyard. We wanted to make sure that we had a space for the guests to go outside and then to be able to also access the rest of the outside of the house. So that's what this area is. And we had this amazing guy that came in who did the rock wall, and it's just a real artisan that came in and did it, and it turned out amazing. And these steps that were here were part of the old house. The steps were not here, but we used the top of the step that were pieces from the renovation. We tried to save anything that we could to be reused, just to kind of keep it there, to save on cost, number one, but also to keep that it was part of the original house. And then there are the plantings.
But we also used all of the rocks that we had to excavate for the addition. So every single one of these rocks came out of the ground. It is a very, very rocky earth where we are. So this rock wall is beautiful now, but it was all in the ground below us, so that's kind of cool. And we put in these hydrangeas that were babies, and they've just exploded. We feel so fortunate. It's funny, last year they were deep purple, almost like this clematis, and this year they've come out beautifully pink. So somehow the soil has changed. We did not do it. I know you can do that, but
Yeah.
we haven't done it. But it's a lovely backdrop to kind of come out of these rooms and see this wall of color.
You know, it's funny, when we left the city, you know, when you're in the city, part of it is really you're in your apartment, but then you go out to see friends. And you go out to gatherings and you go to these different places. And when we made the decision to leave, we said that we're not going to be going out. We want people to come to us. So we built this whole place for with guest rooms and things for people to come to us, because home is where all of these memories can be made. So home for me is curating everything, curating the relationships, the good times, and having all of those in one place. And that's what we set out to do here.
I would say home for me is 4 of us, Tom and our 2 kids, sitting around a table. Sitting at meals is really important to us. I think there's something really special that has gotten a little bit undervalued today about breaking bread and feeding yourselves and talking about what you've done during the day. So as much as I love our physical home and the homes that we've lived in the past, the 4 of us around a table is home for me. We've told our kids that no matter what, Sunday night you come home for dinner. If you're away at college, of course, but when you come home Sunday nights, bring all your friends, that's fine, but it's really important to us that at least once a week, but we do it quite frequently, more frequently than that, that we sit around a table and we talk and we look each other in the eye, and we are intentional about what we're eating and how the table looks, and it's just this real connection. So, you know, our dining room, we have a kitchen island where there are 4 chairs. That's where we are, and that's where we are as a unit, and that's home to me for sure.
And Jen came up with this great game that we play on Sunday nights, where we talk about what was our favorite part of the week, and we fill it out on a little card, what our favorite thing was for the week, and then we put it in like a bucket. Mm-hmm. And then on New Year's Day, we go back and we read all of those throughout the course of what happened over the year. So we do that every Sunday, and then we've got all of these answers to read and remember all of the things that happened throughout the year. So
New Year's Day is filled with just wonderful memories and laughing and crying, and it's a special game. Someone sent it to me on Instagram, so I can't take full credit, but it's fun.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.